Well, good morning, everyone. I have 8 o'clock. We've got a lot of work to do this morning, several bills, and thank all my committee for being here on this committee day. And I'm going to ask Representative Hulderson if he would open us in a word of prayer.
Pray, y'all. Heavenly Father, this thank this day, Lord. Thank you for all the great things you do, Lord. This lead, guide, and direct us always. Allow us to make great decisions for the great state of Georgia within industry that we love. And Lord, if you will, just keep us safe within our travels, be with our families as we're away. And Lord, just thank you for all the great things that you do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, thank you. Members of the committee, as you've probably picked up, the order of our agenda will change. And to best utilize our time, we're going to change the order of our agenda. So I'm going to ask my good friend Larry Walker III to come up and present SB 201. His second trip, has his ag tie on. My good friend from Perry, home of the Dogwood Festival. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
When are they going to bloom? Soon?
I think they're about ready, yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chairman, we passed a really good House bill out of the Senate yesterday to give some storm relief to our ag and forestry communities. I'm really proud of being able to do that with some tax exemptions and tax favorability on the recovery. We obviously are working on the budget, which has more storm relief in there with the safety, and we put money in the supplemental budget. Senate Bill 201, is an attempt to give our homeowners some protection after a natural disaster such as Hurricane Helene, where we have seen unscrupulous contractors come in and take advantage of people when they're in a desperate situation. We had a hearing on this last week, and I appreciate you letting me come back to you. This morning, as it goes this time of session, we had a sort of late sub. You know, we talked last week about making a few changes to the bill, and the chairman was gracious enough to allow me to offer a sub. I think he's willing to accept. So it's L.
Make sure we're on the right sub. Everybody's got the right number. LC 4612228S.
Yes, sir.
Has everyone got that? Okay. Proceed.
So I'll just speak to the changes, and then if there are further questions about the bill, I'm happy to answer those. On line 41 on the sub, we had in the language in the original bill substandard construction, when we thought that was too subjective and not as tight a term as we needed, so we were trying to tighten that up. So we changed it to completing services in a manner inconsistent with the state minimum standard codes or accredited industry standards. Then on the other two changes are on page 5, lines 102 through 105. We added a definition of natural disaster, because the definition we have earlier in the bill, it's the same definition, but it says as used in this paragraph. So we need it also to be defined in section 3. So that's just adding that definition. And then in section 4, because we are asking our insurance companies to prohibit the assignment of benefits on a homeowner's policy after a natural disaster, 12 months following a natural disaster, they've got to adjust their insurance form to reflect that, and they ask for some time to be able to get those forms updated and file the new forms with the commissioner. So we put an effective date for section 3 of January 1, 2026, and then the rest of the bill would be effective July 1, 2025, assuming it passes. So those are the changes. This legislation is supported by the National Insurance Crime Bureau. I've worked with the insurance company representatives, and they are supportive of the bill, or fine with the bill, I guess I would say. And of course, is to protect our constituents. So be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for bringing this bill back with the changes. Committee, open to questions here. If, we do have a couple of Representative Dawson.
Thank you, Senator
Morning.
Walker, for bringing this and being consumer-minded. I think it's a great bill. I like the changes that you made, so at the proper time, I move that we do pass.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the committee on this bill? Representative Dawson has is that a motion, Representative Dawson?
Yes, sir.
Have a motion to do pass. Here a second. Any other questions, comments to the author of the bill? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of do pass SB 201 LC 461228S. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator.
Chairman. And I think Representative Hagan's going to carry it for me.
Okay, very good choice. She'll do an excellent job.
Thank you.
And I think I might have to need a signature, so we'll get that done. Get it
Thank
on
you very much.
get it on the rules. Thank you. All right. Second on our list, let's go to Senator Dixon's SB 112. And Senator Dixon called me yesterday, and he is unavailable today, but has a very capable House member that will do a very excellent job presenting this Senate bill, trying to make it palatable to this committee. So, Chairman Corbett, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As you said, I'm pinch hitting for Senator Dixon this morning. He's tied up, and glad to be able to do this. A great consumer protection bill, SB 112. We're working off LC 600068. Make sure everybody has that copy. This bill was brought by the Conditioned Air Association of Georgia, which represents licensed HVAC contractors and suppliers across Georgia. SB 112 mirrors similar legislation that was passed in Florida in 2023 and has been viewed positively by consumers and the industry. This legislation eliminates registration requirements for these HVAC warranties. These registration requirements are unnecessary. They burden that add extra work to contractors and consumers. Additionally, it often causes confusion on who is responsible for registering these systems. SB 112 protects the transferability of these warranties. Should there be a transfer of property prior to the expiration of that warranty, it will automatically transfer it to the new homeowner. If passed out of the Senate, 55 to nothing. They do get one right every now and then. And I think they did a great job vetting this bill. Anyway, to the bill, it prohibits manufacturers, distributors, and retailers that provide warranties of HVAC systems and components be conditioned upon this product being registered, by the consumer. It's automatically transfers. It shall be automatically transferred to the new owner. It shall continue in effect as if the new owner was the original purchaser of the system or component as applicable. The warranty starts on the date of installation, and then it specifies what shall be contained. If a card or form is provided, it spells out what should be on it, and it shall contain or display in clear and conspicuous manner that the failure to complete or return the card or form shall not diminish the warranty rights or decrease the warranty term. And also on that card that the distributor or retailer shall not be in any way conditioned upon product registration. So it's a great consumer protection bill. When they talked to me about it, I said, I'm the world's worst when I buy something. You get these warranty cards. Very rarely do I fill these things out. So I think this is a great bill for the consumer, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. And I'll stand for questions. And anything technical, I have a friend behind me I can call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, do we have any questions for the stand-in author of this bill? I've got one question. I guess why have we been so long getting this bill? This is really sounds. The manufacturers, I know they Manufacturers Association have any issues with this bill?
No, they're actually. I think it's good for both.
I agree.
It's good for consumer and the manufacturer. So it's a great bill. Like I say, my only question is why did the Senate come up with it and not the House?
I agree with you.
So I guess they say a blind hog will find an acorn every now and then. So I guess they stumbled upon it.
I see one question down at the end. Hold on just a minute. Representative Cox.
Yeah, thank you. And I kind of want to ask off what Chairman did. What caused this, at least in Georgia, that we needed to bring this forward where we having an issue with manufacturers with their limited warranties, or what happened to cause us to need this?
I will need to ask for some phone a friend, but like I say, it's great for the consumer. One thing, and I guess they did this in Florida in 2023 and seen that it was viewed positive by both the consumer and the manufacturers. So,
Ms. Green, introduce yourself to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tucker Green, I represent the Conditioned Air Association of Georgia. Great question, Representative. Two things. One, what we were seeing is in some instances manufacturers would not honor these warranties if they were not registered. So, we didn't think that was right. These people are paying for these warranties. They're purchasing them up front, and just because of a technicality, they weren't being honored. And second, it's causing a lot of confusion and extra work for contractors and consumers. Sometimes customers will get upset with the contractor. Why didn't you register my system? I didn't know I was supposed to register my system, and it kind of causes confusion and extra work. And particularly, it's one thing, for our contractors to register these systems for their customers on changeouts, but a lot of times, like on new construction, they don't even know who's purchasing the home. So it just helps eliminate this extra step that's not needed.
Okay, can follow up?
Yes.
Okay, and being in the manufacturing side, that's why I'm asking some questions here specific to HVAC. And this is specific to the residential, not commercial. Is that how I'm reading this as well?
Yes, that's correct. Residential.
Okay, and manufacturers that may be outside of the United States that's bringing product in, is there any concerns about the warranties as they come into the U.S. as well as into Georgia? Are we able to do this in the state of Georgia would be the question I have if it's product coming from another country.
Yeah, I don't believe there would be any issue as far as, the transaction would still be occurring under the jurisdictions and laws within our state.
Okay.
Representative Osteen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm assuming that when, let's say, a builder is building out, developing a neighborhood, they have to register. Are they the ones that have to register these HVACs per address? I guess there's a registration somewhere, right? So they know how old the system is. Does that make sense? Like if I'm an HVAC repair, I know how old this system is, and I know if it's how am I going to know it's still under warranty? Does that make sense?
So that's why this is kind of an extra step. You're exactly right. They're tracking this already. The manufacturers and distributors are tracking who they're selling these units to on the contractor side, and contractors are tracking based on serial numbers what systems they're installing on properties now. So this was just eliminating the extra step.
Okay, any other questions for the author? I would entertain, since we're getting, what is day today? 33. If, I'm in a position to make, hear a motion if there's, if the committee thinks well enough this bill. I've got a motion, do pass. Do I hear a second? Got a second, Representative Dubick. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Hear none. Good job, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Motion, bill do pass. All right. Next on our agenda would be SB 105, Senator Jason Analavatore. I see him in the back. Welcome to the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee of the House. The Senate Majority Chairman from Dallas.
What's up,
Well-
Mr. Chairman? I feel like every time I come to a House committee now, it's like Hunger Games.
Oh, we're very friendly.
Oh, I'm well aware. We are too.
Tell us a little bit about SB 105.
Thank you. And I brought Dr. Reddick up here with me. I'll let her introduce herself in a second, answer some of the more technical questions I think some folks may have. Senate Bill 105 basically just focusing on the veterinarian client-patient relationship. What we're trying to do here is protect our Georgia veterinarians with some, honestly, cleanup language and tighten some things up around telemedicine with this bill. Basically, this bill is allowing and extending the veterinarian client-patient relationship within the same practice and allow veterinarians to use telemedicine for patients with an existing veterinarian client-patient relationship. It also is limiting telemedicine to licensed Georgia veterinarians operating under the same client-patient relationship, and we'll talk more about that in a second, why that's important. And it also permits telemedicine without a veterinarian client-patient relationship only in emergencies, such as when no veteran is available within 50 miles or if it's within a 24-hour time frame. This bill is to prevent oversight and accountability and prevent out-of-state veterinarians from exploiting telemedicine. And I think, as you know, Mr. Chairman, we have a lot of really good and great veterinarians, whether it's in rural communities or even here in the city, to take care of our animals, and we want to protect that relationship that our veterinarians have with families of maybe small animals or those that are on large farms or in rural communities with large animals that are always seeking help and relying on that health care for their animals. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you, see if there's any questions.
Okay. Members of the committee, questions for the author? So we have a very big shortage of large animal vets in rural Georgia. A lot of miles between farms, very different from metro areas. How is this going to help our large animal rural vets better practice veterinary medicine for their clients?
I'm going to let Dr. Reddick kind of just chime in on that and just what she's been seeing around the state. Let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Dickey. I'm Carrie Riddick. I'm a veterinarian, and I'm the executive director of the Georgia Veterinary Medical Association. We definitely understand there's a large animal veterinarian shortage, especially in rural Georgia. What this bill will specifically help is when a farmer, a producer has an emergency and they cannot get a hold of a veterinarian. There's not a veterinarian that can come out in their area. There's not one that, that they just don't have anybody to access. Now they can call a veterinarian through telemedicine, have that conversation, and the veterinarian can make decisions based on that specific animal, that specific herd. They can prescribe medicine, as needed. They're still going to be, they still have to follow the FDA guidelines and all, but it's a way that somebody can get help when there's not a veterinarian right there.
Representative Osteen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell me what under what conditions would veterinary technicians be able to engage in this telemedicine?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your question. So a veterinary technician actually cannot engage in telemedicine. That is limited to a veterinarian only because they're going to be often prescribing or making a diagnosis or prescribing. Veterinary technicians can practice teletriage, which is giving advice specific to an animal, which is something they cannot do right. Well, they're limited what they can do right now.
Thank you for answering. I just wondered what their scope of practice was. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, let's go to line 107, section 3. Is this changing state law now? It's no person may practice veterinary telemedicine. It's not a licensed veterinarian. Is that speak to a little bit of that language there? Is this changing what vet techs can do or can't do? Does this bill go there, or is it just specific to telemedicine?
Yeah, it's specific to telemedicine, Mr. Chairman. It's a great question. I think some of my colleagues we had in the Senate, I think we discussed this series, this one section here. I don't know, Dr. Reddick, you want to explain to them kind of what we talked about in the Senate on this piece, just to make sure it's clear to the entire committee.
We're talking about section 3.
Line 105, is that what you asked? Yeah.
Okay, we've got a few more questions. Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Could you give me an example of what an advice would be versus treatment or giving medical
Yes,
information?
ma'am. Absolutely. So tele-advice is if you have an animal and if I'm your veterinarian and I've never met you or your pet, right now I can give broad, and let's just say, for example, that your dog may have ingested rat poison. So right now I could go over general guidelines of what happens with an animal that has been exposed to rat poison, and typical, findings, outcomes, and even typical treatments, but I cannot do anything specific for your animal. Teletriage is to get more into specifics about what's going on with your pet and your dog. What are the health problems they're showing? What are the symptoms they're showing? Do they have are they coughing? Do they have a bloody nose? What does that mean? And then can now give you even a recommendation more of like, it's okay right now to wait until your veterinarian's open tomorrow, or this sounds urgent and we need to get your pet to a vet. So the follow-up for telemedicine is, and right now within a VCPR, one veterinarian in a hospital can do this. I'll explain in a second what this bill will also extend that. But telemedicine is then making that diagnosis of, oh gosh, your dog has been exposed to rat poison. It needs this medication at this dose, and let's get that prescription. What, in addition to this bill, is within the veterinary client-patient relationship, that currently is limited to one veterinarian in a practice. And so if there are multiple veterinarians in that practice, and right now if I'm the only one that has that relationship with you, now that relationship can extend to other veterinarians. So if I'm not in the office, they're not going to have to ask for you to come in so they can see your pet and develop that relationship. They can already use my existing relationship. And that, Chairman Dickey, will also extend to the food animal veterinarians.
We got a few more questions. Thank you for those comments. Representative Mathis.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for bringing this. Is this, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, does this pertain mainly to small animals or this telemedicine? I mean, you reference, dogs, cats, whatever. Is that what this is kind of focused to? But large animals, I'm trying to figure out how this large animals, that's that's going to be on probably most of the time on site unless you have a place there. Down where I live, that's a problem.
Yes, sir. Pardon. Thank you for your question. This bill is not specific to small animal veterinarians alone. This applies very much to large animal veterinarians and What has been exciting to me is the feedback I've received from veterinarians is for large animal, because if they do not have a relationship with a producer or farmer, and they have a need in the middle of the night, now if they haven't, if they don't already have a relationship with you, they can offer help without having to come to the farm. So it truly does extend to large animals, and I think it will even more so than small animal.
Okay. Can I have one follow-up, please?
Yes.
The cost on this, if a telemedicine doctor comes in and works with another doctor, how is that going to be arranged? Who pays for the telemedicine advice or instruction? How
Yes, sir.
does that work?
That will be individual per every veterinarian. So as a small business owner, they'll be able to establish how that's going to work within their practice.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The committee, I see Will Bentley in the back, who I know works with Cattlemen Association, large animals, as well as veterinary. Ms. Bentley, would you mind speaking to this bill if you'd like to?
Yes, sir. Will Bentley with the Georgia Agribusiness Council, and we also represent the Georgia Cattlemen's Association. I just want to make it clear that GVMA worked with both of our organizations throughout the summer and fall to kind of go through this and make sure it was good for cattle farmers, cattle producers, and other livestock producers. I know they worked with the former executive director of the Cattlemen's Association to get it right, and Georgia Cattlemen's Association is supporting the bill as it is now, as well as Georgia Agribusiness Council. So just wanted to make sure y'all knew we were comfortable with the bill. We think it'll help rural veterinarians. We think it'll help all Georgia veterinarians, make it easier to get access to your veterinarians by being able to work with other people within the practice that may not have the same vet-client-patient relationship. So I think that's key to have access to those veterinarians. But just wanted to make sure y'all knew that we were comfortable with the bill and are supporting the bill. But I'll leave the technical questions to Dr. Riddick, because I know they put a lot of work in this, working with all their vets across the state.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Bentley, before we sit down? Say a few more questions. Thank you, Representative Carter. And is today a special day for you?
It is. Yes,
What is it? Your birthday today?
It is.
Well,
It is.
happy birthday.
I've had 62 rounds of
I'm not going to try singing.
Oh, no, 62. I just want everybody
I'll
to
leave
know.
that
Yes,
to
ma'am, 62. And I got
Representative
up
Sharper.
this morning
But,
to hang out with y'all.
well,
So
I hope
thank
you have a good birthday.
Oh, I will.
And
Thank you,
it's
sir.
starting off
It
very
started
well
out
in
with
this
y'all.
committee.
It started with y'all. So thank you. Good morning. So thank you. I'm glad to be alive. So thank you for this legislation. My only question is, and I understand the intent, because it's going to open up more opportunities for, especially in our rural areas, to have veterinarians, but it's limited to Georgia veterinarians, if I understand that. So my question is, in the event there's an emergency and there's no Georgia veterinarian available through telemedicine, at what point, or is there an opportunity for an out-of-state veterinarian in the case of an emergency? That would be my only concern.
In this situation, thank you. Thank you for your question. In this situation, an out-of-state veterinarian that is not licensed in Georgia, they have no oversight by our state board has no oversight on them. And so we are very specific that we want our veterinarians licensed that are practicing on Georgia, livestock, equine, and pets.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Camp.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this bill, Senator, because as someone who has a cattle production farm, this is so important. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you could go to Tractor Supply or to another store and you could get an antibiotic if you thought your animal had pink eye or something that could be very contagious. That's not the case now. So getting a large animal vet to a farm can be very challenging because of the demand, simply. So I thank you for bringing this measure. I think this is going to help a lot of producers. And probably a lot of pet owners as well. So thank you for this. At the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll hold that for a moment, and got a couple more questions. Representative Hutchinson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the sponsor of the bill. Like I said, I've worked on some of the veterinary medicine bills, and as this, like I said, there's been a lot of awareness over this last year of veterinary medicine, of the need around the state of Georgia. So, like I said, I just want to thank you for the bill and appreciate the work that you've done. And like I said, at proper time, I agree with Representative Kemp.
Representative Reese.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this bill. I know you've probably heard that many times now. It sounds repetitive, but I think the more options we give our farmers to operate it and to be able to take care of the animals, the more important it is. And it's kind of remind me, Mr. Chairman, of hearing from the commissioner and how he talked about how efficient the ag community was in getting bird flu. Contained in a very rapid pace. Having access to a veterinarian at all times could be that difference. Could be the veterinarian saying to the farmer, hey, we need to take drastic measures right now. I'm more of a operational and vision person. Can you just kind of, and if I missed this, I apologize, but can you just kind of talk about what this would look like? Are we talking about a laptop, or is there some kind of special equipment that would be needed? How can farmers align themselves to be prepared to take advantage of this?
Yes, sir, and thank you very much for your question as well. This is as simple as a cell phone. So, yep, it's telemedicine. Initially, we thought for veterinary medicine would be very similar to human medicine in audio synchronous video real time. And telemedicine is used within the VCPR today, and the majority of the time it's texting a picture of an animal. What is this? What is the concern? Do I need to come in? So it's as simple as that.
Okay, we're going to move on. Chairman Leverett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, like everybody else apparently on the committee, I do like the bill very much, but I want to ask a question just to, I know. So I don't want to postpone passing this, but I did want to ask a question just to make sure I'm understanding a feature of the bill that I think is a strength of the bill. You had mentioned the veterinarian client-patient relationship, and I see that as a definition that we are amending by adding basically other vets in the same practice that actually see the animal. So as I read this, you're allowing this kind of telecare, but it has to be with someone in the same practice. So you're not just opening it up to anybody who calls in from Ohio. It would have to be a licensed vet here who's a member of a practice that already has a relationship with that particular animal or the customer anyway.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that's.
And just to be clear too, and the doctor can talk about this, but I think the concern is when you get into prescribing and we get into all these other things, if you're in another state, you've never put hands on the animal, you've never seen the animal, it's way different. And I can, somebody's worked in healthcare on the human side. It can be different. So I think this contains the expertise and make sure there's checks and balances, I think, for that family.
I think it's well crafted. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Representative Taylor, you got a quick question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to envision an oversight for or database of services offered in this particular realm. Is there any type of way that you're tracking how many animals are being seen using this telemedicine, which veterinarians are doing it, and the outcomes of that?
So that is all individual, that is part of the VCPR, and the veterinary client-patient relationship and every individual practice is where that oversight between the veterinarian and the State Board of Veterinary Medicine exists. Veterinarian is required to keep there's a minimum standard of care requirements for medical record keeping.
Okay.
And so if you're doing a telemedicine appointment, all of that visit is in those medical
It's the
records.
same. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm seeing no more questions from the committee. I'm going to go back to Chairman Camp. I think, did you have a motion a while ago? Or?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, do pass
We'll have a motion, do pass.
by substitute.
Here's second. Got a second, Alderson. Any other questions of anyone Arthur at the table? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Bill passes. Thank you, Senator, for this bill. Look forward to moving it on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Jaspers is going to carry the bill.
Also, another very good choice, member of this committee. He'll do a good job. So thank you for being here, and move on. Okay. Next on our agenda, Senator Kilpatrick, SB 33. We've gotten a few emails on this. I wonder if we could get paid per email to have to read all these emails. But I have to be honest, I didn't quite read them all. They were all very similar. So maybe you can explain and get to the bottom of all this. So glad to have you here this morning for the famous SB 33.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have to say have gotten more emails about Senate Bill 254 than about this bill. But in any case, first of all, let me just start by thanking the members of the committee that are in the agriculture business. You've had a rough year. I grew up on a farm, and I know what you're dealing with. And so I appreciate the work that you guys do. This bill, which the LC I have is 550524S. Okay. Okay. As a physician, I work a lot on public safety issues, which is why I brought a similar bill last year. But what has changed since last year is that we passed Senate Bill 494, which requires testing of Delta-9 products from hemp, but it doesn't address other intoxicating cannabinoids like Delta-8. We have very reputable processors of hemp products that are already doing the right thing in the state by testing and labeling their products. However, many of the products being sold in gas stations, smoke shops, and so on are not Georgia grown and are from China and other countries. These intoxicating cannabinoids appear in trace amounts in the plant, but then they're enhanced to make them stronger by using various chemicals. So in the wild west of these products, these chemicals may include industrial solvents, heavy metals, and other contaminants. I've been working with the Department of Agriculture since day 40 last year to come up with a solution to this issue. And to their credit, they've taken on licensing and enforcement of these businesses that sell Delta-9 THC products and are doing inspections, confiscating products, and they've licensed a large number of businesses. They provided input to this bill, and I appreciate their collaboration. I'll continue to work with them. Meanwhile, the FDA has identified Delta-8 in particular as a health risk and has continued to send warning letters to companies due to adverse events resulting in emergency visits. And the DEA still considers these as Schedule I controlled substances. The 2018 Farm Bill drew a line at 0.3% THC. Anything below that is considered hemp. Anything above that is considered marijuana. This bill defines intoxicating cannabinoids, and it includes a substance called HHC, which is synthesized from CBD. And this was drawn to my attention by the Agriculture Department. This bill gives the department the authority to include any other compound that may pop up that they deem necessary to protect health and safety. It includes these compounds in the total concentration of THC in a product. This is a complicated subject, and this bill has nothing to do with medical cannabis, which is regulated in a completely different way. It simply moves to protect the safety of Georgia citizens from compounds that are not currently required to be tested. It goes along with the Commissioner's efforts to enforce safety standards across the state. Walking through the bill on page 3, starting with line 55, that's where the definitions are of intoxicating cannabinoids. And on page 5, lines 110 and 111 talk about the total concentration of 0.3 or less, which of course is how we define hemp products. Line 141 gives the department the ability to add any other compound or group of compounds that they view as necessary to protect public health and safety. And line 166 reiterates the total concentration of 0.3%. That is the bill. It is not a ban, and it's not intended to negatively impact legitimate processors. Senate Bill 494 dealt with consumable hemp products. They already, per that bill, can't be sold to children or purchased by anybody under 21. This bill is to be sure that we protect consumers by clarifying the substances that must be included in our current program. I want to continue to work with the department to protect consumers, and so it's possible that there may be a sub at this late date. Just a heads up. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you, Senator, for that. I know you've worked hard on this, not just this year, but last year as well, and thank you for this bill. We've got a lot of people signed up to talk to this bill. Is someone from the Department of Ag here? Is Catherine Russell? Would you, I know you've worked very strongly on this subject, and could you just give us maybe an overview of where the department, some challenges that you might foresee, and just where the department is on testing this? I know we've given you that authority in the past, and I think the committee would like to hear a little bit on that point, if you don't mind.
Of course. I was actually just taking notes in the back to try to address any questions or concerns that may come about. So currently with testing, you guys may remember we passed SB 494 last year. And one of the things that it gave the department the authority to do was to oversee the testing requirements and the enforcement of the sale of hemp products. Now that is all hemp products, and they all have to be tested according to the requirements that we've established in rule and regulation. And we've expanded a little bit from what was included in the law, because I think it just included like THC. And so we went ahead and built that out a little bit more. And then we also, we had some authority there to identify compounds that may need to be tested for, and we used that authority to go ahead and build out a section where we test for pesticides and fungicides and mycotoxins and arsenic and other heavy metals, because the plant is prone to absorb all of those things out of the soil, and we knew that there were products that were coming from out of the country or from states where they had product that couldn't meet their standards, and so they were sending them here. And so we are currently testing for things that we've identified to be health risks there.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Sure.
Let me try to get that volume down.
Would it be okay if I maybe came back after we have other testing?
Yeah,
We
can do that. Okay. Yeah, questions for the author before she leaves, and then we've got a lot of people signed up for and against this bill. Appreciate all them being here. We'll bring you back. Thank you, Senator.
I think I have another bill in this same room at 9 o'clock, so I'm not
Yes,
sure.
we're up against a time frame.
okay.
I know you are, so thank you. Greg Ruka, are you here to speak to this bill? And we're going to keep it very short, under 2 minutes, under one if you can, with the number of people we have and our time restraints. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. I'm Dr. Greg Raduca. I'm with the Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. I'm the Vice President, Board of Directors. I've been in the substance abuse and substance addiction profession for 50 years, retired now, but an active lobbyist for Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. Kids have been the focus of my career. I testified previously to you about a House bill. So some of this is a repeat, but I think it bears repeating because, as has been said, it's a very complex issue. I give you a handout at that previous session of the ABCs of THC because it is so complex. Senate Bill 494 was wonderful as far as it went with regulating only one kind of THC, which is Delta 9. The problem is there are so many different kinds of THC these days. Delta 8, Delta 10, Delta 11, THCP, etc., many different kinds of THC. The problem with 494, as good as it was that it regulated only one kind of THC, Delta 9. So, say if we keep it simple and just talk about Delta 8 and Delta 10, you could have a gummy in it, a Georgia gummy, that has just 0.3% Delta 9 THC, but it could be 95% Delta 8 THC. And that's the problem. And the problem also is that given this loophole that was created on the federal level, sometimes called the Delta loophole, it meant that there's no age limit. It's completely unregulated. Delta 8, Delta 10 are completely unregulated. So they're lawful at any age. So technically a 10-year-old could have a Delta 8 product with 95% THC, and there's no law against that. So Senator Kirkpatrick's bill is wonderful in that it would address all kinds of THC. And it would be so helpful to have that on the books, because there's billboards advertising 95% Delta 8 THC vapes, for example. We showed you an example of a billboard in South Georgia for a dispensary in Helen, Georgia, a dispensary kind of in the certain sense of the word, not a state licensed dispensary, I might add. So,
well, thank you for those comments. Sort of out of time. Make some good points. If we have time, we'll come back to you. Okay. If we can move on, Alan Hart, you signed up to speak. Yes. Identify yourself, please, sir. Who you?
Sure. My name is Alan Hart, and I am the co-founder of Classic Sativa, formerly $1 Million business in Athens, Georgia. I'm a graduate of Cornell University, and I suffer from crippling anxiety and depression. I have been declared an expert witness in the courts of Clark and Morgan counties. I offer my services to you to understand this complex part of the human race. My company is part of the local and state Chamber of Commerce and have donated more than $25,000 to local and charities in the past 5 years. We employ 8 Georgia residents and have also paid the state $350,000 in sales tax. A friend of mine has a saying, all of the drugs that are tested for are out of your body within 7 days with the exception of cannabis, which takes 28 days. Do you know why? It's because it belongs there. I want to share a story of a little girl. At 4 months, she was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, one of the worst forms of childhood epilepsy. At 5 years old, she was having 300 grand mal seizures per week. She couldn't sleep through the night. She couldn't keep food down. Her doctor estimated that she wouldn't live to see 6 years old. Her name was Charlotte Figi. Her family tried every available anti-seizure medication known to modern science. None of them helped. They were told that cannabis might afford her some relief, but they were a religious family and resistant to treatments that would go against what they had been told about this plant. Despite that, and due to Charlotte's continued and ever-decreasing health, they spoke with the Stanley brothers in Colorado, who developed a strain of cannabis that came to be known as Charlotte's Web, after Charlotte and the children's story of the same name. When given the life-saving medicine, her seizures dropped to 6 per week, and she did live. She did survive due to cannabis and her endogenous cannabinoid system. Every one of us has an endocannabinoid system. In fact, all mammals, birds, fish, lizards, and much of the animal kingdom have a system in our bodies that wasn't discovered until the early 1990s. It regulates every biological system, encouraging our bodies to achieve homeostasis, also known as equilibrium. This is why research has shown how cannabis helps to heal long list of, if not every, autoimmune disorder and countless other conditions, from arthritis to anxiety to seizures and cancer. Misinformation about cannabis has been rampant in our legislative system. Books have been written about how Harry Anslinger in 1937 fought against our American Medical Association in order to save the budget of the DEA that was being reduced due to recession and the end of prohibition of alcohol. He repeatedly and knowingly introduced false claims about cannabis, as we also heard in the Senate committee meeting regarding this bill 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have you got anything to wrap it up with, or
Sure,
a statement?
I want to say that the The hemp industry in Georgia is very vibrant. It was over $1 billion industry last year, and due to SB 494, that's been reduced. We have reduced the jobs in Georgia by 2,700. An estimated 2,700 jobs were lost because of SB 494. And as far as the intoxication of hemp is concerned and these alternate THCs are concerned, they are far less intoxicating than alcohol and even caffeine and other things that we have on the shelves today. By enacting this bill, we actually will be destroying more Georgia lives, and this bill doesn't help anybody, but it hurts every single Georgian and every person in this room.
Thank you. Mark Parnell, if you want to come speak.
Mac Parnell with the Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition. In the interest of time, I'll just simply say the Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition is in favor of Senate Bill 33, and thank you for your consideration on it.
Okay, thank you. We have Erin Jamiris here. She's from Rowe. Thank you for being here. Identify yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Erin Jimenez. I live in Athens, Georgia. I've been in the hemp industry for quite a few years now. I have my own marketing firm now, proudly, and my clients are here. So that's all great. But I do want to respond to some things that were said about SB 33. As Senator Kirkpatrick mentioned, 494 passed age restrictions on all hemp products. It doesn't matter if it's hemp lotion. You have to be 21 years or older to buy it. As Ms. Russell stated from the Department of Agriculture, they're already doing testing on these products to crack down on things that people shouldn't be consuming in Georgia. So in reality, what SB 33 is doing is limiting the amount of intoxicating cannabinoids that adults in Georgia are able to consume. I don't believe in government intervention to that extent by any means, especially when it comes to something like this that is so misunderstood. Not to bore you with science, but as Alan mentioned, everyone has an endocannabinoid system, and Delta-8 THC does not adhere to the receptors as well as other forms of THC, which means it tends to be a softer form of THC, so not as high of an experience milligram for milligram. What that's good for is pain. People use it for sleep. People use it for a lot of chronic conditions where they may not necessarily want to feel that high feeling, but they want the relief. Limiting that, in addition to everything else that has been limited and everything else that has been discussed to be limited this session and other forms of legislation, is a pity. Because a lot of Georgians do depend on it. And honestly, a lot of businesses depend on that revenue because these are federally legal products that you're limiting in Georgia specifically. That doesn't stop people from going out of state and spending the money to online retailers and shipping it in. Georgia's losing money on that. Georgia's losing businesses that have to shut down over the loss of these products. Georgia's losing customers, period. So with all that said, I oppose SB 33, and I would really urge everyone here to also oppose it until a better piece of legislation comes forth that actually solves some problems that our industry desperately needs solved. And if you need any recommendations on that, I would love to offer my services. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We're getting up near committee to a time. And I'm going to pause, if we can, this bill for a few minutes and switch. I see another colleague in the audience who has a bill that we've been discussing for some time. And if Representative Stephen Stinks would come, and we're going to hear H.R. 368. He's been working on this issue all session as well. And I want our committee to make sure, by the way, SB 33, this was just a hearing on this bill. As y'all can see, we got lots of issues, and we got a lot of other people in the audience that have come, want to speak for and against this bill. But I thought it'd be proper at this time, Representative Saints to present his H.R. 368 to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of committee.
I have been privileged to work on this. I thank Senator and Dr. Kirkpatrick, who's led on this issue, as well as many on both sides. Though I come from the viewpoint of one side on the public health side in terms of the potential harms, we recognize that there is a industry that has similar interests, that I truly don't doubt that there are folks utilizing these products and selling these products with the interests of Georgia's in mind. What House Resolution 368 now does would be creating a study committee, recognizing that this is a complex issue with multiple stakeholders, a substance, when we're talking about hemp and Delta-9, which is the intoxicating substance, and now Delta-6 through H, other than Delta-Dawn that's not covered in here. This would look at what's the public health harms, but also what are potential benefits that the committee wants to see, and where is the role of the state in protecting consumers from any unnecessary harm, but also safeguarding products that may need to be placed there. I'd also point something we've added to this resolution is at the end, in terms of looking at, starting on lines 39 going forward, looking at the excise tax. Right now there's consumable hemp beverages, though they're not taxed in correlation to, let's say, beer that has an excise tax on it. Not saying that that's something we want to impose, but we recognize that this is a market disruptor, that this is a new that this has enabled new products in the market, and I'm under the assumption, the co-sponsors are, that this would be a good time to make sure Georgia's leading on providing legislation to consumers that's fair, practical, and reasonable.
Thank you. We have any questions from the committee? Seeing that it's right up on the 9 o'clock hour, I think we would probably have to pause here. Sure. And I want to apologize to the members in the committee, in the audience who've signed up for. We've got probably another 10 people there for and against Senator Kirkpatrick's bill. And so we have another meeting scheduled for Friday morning that I would like to bring these two bills back to and finish hearing if we can. With that, appreciate the committee's patience this morning here, and we did pass some good bills. And thank you, Senator, for being here. And certainly those are available for questions tomorrow and rest of the day. So thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.